Hi, this is Graham Jeacocke. Now, I got a little bit of inspiration from the sermon I heard this morning, or the story leading up to the sermon in the church this morning. Now, this is directed to Stephen Fry himself, because he is the person who has publicly spoke on his distaste and dislike for the 10 Commandments. But here is an application which I would like to see how Stephen Fry intellectually answers it, or does he squirm? But I'm going to place an extra condition on it, because unlike when you're just talking on a TV, you're not under any force to say what you don't want to say. So either we have a moot trial, right? Or we have a real trial. Now, not in a real trial in the sense of having a trial, but in the sense that you follow the conditions of what you would usually have to go through if you were in a trial, right? And if you are in a trial or a moot trial, you have to answer the question of the prosecution, okay, of a prosecutor. So Stephen Fry is obligated to answer it, or he would either be fined or not be a reliable witness. He would have made a mockery of justice, getting the truth out of someone, okay? So what is this thing I have to offer? Now, many atheists know the story of Daniel, okay, of the book of Daniel, and we know the fiery furnace story where three Jewish believers refused to bow down to a statue, okay? And the names, just to remind others, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, okay? And they were told by the king, when they heard the music, okay, of musicians, they were to bow down to the representation of the king through this golden statue, 90 feet high, made in the image of the king, I imagine. Okay? Now, so Stephen Fry is in the witness stand, okay? And the first question I would pose to him as the prosecutor, I would say, ask Stephen what his opinion is of the 10 Commandments, okay? To establish what he thinks about it, okay? Now, that's the end of the first trial, okay? But in between the first trial and the second trial, I would get Stephen Fry, okay, and a camera crew or whatever, go, what's the guy's name? I don't know how you pronounce it. Kim Jong Un of North Korea, okay? Now, if you type that name in, okay, in Google or somewhere, and look at the pictures, okay? Or, well, you've got to see statue. Add the name Kim Jong Un and statue, and look at the images, okay? And you see a massive statue. Perhaps it is 90 feet, like the statue in the story of Daniel, okay? Now, Stephen, as an intellectual, right, has to look at that situation and has to observe what is happening are people bowing down to this statue, bowing down to Kim Jong Un, okay? Now, he's going to be thinking on certain things when he does that, okay? Now, after that, we come back to the UK, okay? And we have the second trial. Stephen Fry goes on the witness stand, okay? And the prosecutor would ask another question at Stephen, addressed to Stephen. And it would ask Stephen to recite the list of commands, one by one, in the 10 Commandments. Okay? And Stephen would have to confront the command, okay, that says, do not bow down to any statue, right? Now, Stephen Fry, if he was just talking to friends or to in a documentary setup, he's under no obligation. He's not cornered. But in a trial, you are sort of cornered because there are consequences if you don't confront the question. So, we would have to ask Stephen, what do you think of that command referring to bowing down to statues? And the recent trip to North Korea where this statue is, I presume, it would be in his forefront of his consciousness. He would have formed some opinion about it. Now, he has to be truthful, I guess, as an atheist, to say, now, is this a relevant command to people? Does it happen in reality? Now, and it has consequences of how we view people who have a strong faith not to follow the dictatorship of people, because that's a very negative way to picture life, reality. There is no hope if you are forced into bowing down to something because you fear the consequences of not bowing down. But here's the thing. Stephen Fry might come up with a way to wriggle out of it, and say, he would obviously say, it's ridiculous that people are forced into that sort of situation. But does Stephen Fry not understand what the rule of law is? Now, Stephen Fry, if you were to present yourself to any judge in a courtroom and say, I'm not going to live by the law of the land, how do you think the judge would react? Do you think you would be punished, not by the method of being thrown into a fiery furnace, but your citizenship might be revoked? You might not be allowed to stay in the country. You might go to jail. You might be forced to pay a fine. So, to say that something like this would actually happen to people, I think it just shows your lack of understanding how the rule of law behaves and controls people. Because the law doesn't have to be violent to exert its authority. Okay? You see, the rule of law in Babylon, where Shadrach, Meshach were thrown into a fiery furnace, they used the rule of law, but they used it in a violent way. The rule of law can be used in a manipulative and subtle way. It's still coming to the same conclusion eventually, because each generation will have a different methods of dealing with lawbreakers. Well, wasn't it fairly recently in our UK history that if you refused to fight in the war, you would have been shot? That's not very, very different from being thrown into a fiery furnace. It's probably far crueler to be thrown into a fiery furnace, because at least a bullet is relatively quick when it hits the person, if it's aimed with great precision. So there you go, Stephen Fry. You are on the internet along with Christopher Hitchens. How you mocked and ridiculed Anne Widdecombe when she discussed the issue of the Ten Commandments. Was it someone walked out? Now, if you, Stephen Fry, were forced to bow down to Kim Jong Un at that statue, I hope that your little fictional trip that I forced you to go to look at this statue, you would have gained some wisdom about how you critique things. I mean, you did study languages and texts, so I imagine you understand the importance of meaning in words. Now, when you speak and mock the Ten Commandments, are you just an unreliable witness? Bye for now.